What is going on, guys? I'm back with another video. In this video, what I want to talk about is there going to be a recession in the next coming months? And we'll talk about a bunch of different indicators going on with the falling economy worldwide. I mean, there's so many things going on, with the China trade war, inverted yield curve, all kinds of stuff. What I want to get into is all the craziness going on. So we got the China trade war, we got markets falling in the stock market. So GE falls the most in 11 years after Madoff whistleblower calls it a bigger fraud than Enron. And Enron was this total fraud where they did all kinds of accounting tricks to basically predict future profits to count them as profits this quarter, and they just basically pumped their stock to the moon, and it was a giant fraud that fell apart. And this guy that called, this Madoff whistleblower who called basically out Bernie Madoff because he looked at all the data and he's like, there's no way he can keep making money, quarter over quarter where everyone else is losing. It's just not possible. It's like a Ponzi scheme. Basically, the 175-page report claims GE was hiding the depths of its financial problems and would need to significantly raise its insurance reserves. It also points out alleged accounting issues with its oil and gas unit. GE offers a lot of stuff. Like, they sell, they create a lot of products, but they also now sell insurance, and that can get really risky because they're really, there's no limit to how much they can insure, right? And if the numbers don't add up, and things go south, then they can go out of business, kind of like AIG did back in 2008, 2009. And my team has spent the past 7 months analyzing GE's accounting, and we believe the $38 billion in fraud we've come across is merely the tip of the iceberg. So they're spotting all kinds of fraud in GE. I believe even Warren Buffett sold out on his GE holdings yesterday. And this is a very bearish sign that big companies like GE that have been around for decades are basically doing fraud just to keep afloat. And they need credit to basically pay their employees all the time. So kind of interesting. It's a bad sign. So Hong Kong is another geopolitical thing going on. And basically this, I guess this is the leader right here, or the self-proclaimed leader of the protest. And he called on Friday that Hong Kong citizens should take out all bank deposits. He's trying to cause a bank run. Who knows if it's going to happen, but that would be definitely a bearish sign if it did. The primary goal is Chinese banks, but Haitians said other banks should also be targeted. Otherwise, Chinese banks can borrow money from other banks to solve problems. So yeah, pretty scary stuff what's going on. There's definitely a independent kind of movement going on in Hong Kong because they're basically, China's closing in on them. So next we have Danish bank launches world's first negative interest rate mortgage. So a negative interest rate mortgage, it just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, you borrow money and you actually make money from borrowing, which is kind of crazy. So this is what these are the kind of games the central banks are having to play to get people to keep spending. Is they're actually paying you to borrow money to continue your spending habits, which just doesn't make any sense. If you think about it, right, it's like it's not a good thing for sure. A Danish bank has launched the world's first negative interest rate mortgage, handing out loans to homeowners where the charge is minus 0.5% a year. Negative interest rates effectively mean that a bank pays a borrower to take money off their hands so they pay back less than they have loaned. So Denmark's third largest bank has begun offering borrowers a 10-year deal at negative 0.5%, while another Danish bank, Nordea, says it will begin offering 20-year fixed rate deals at 0% and a 30 mortgage at 0.5%. Yeah, I definitely like a deal like that for a mortgage. They pay you money over time. So like if you borrow, let's say 100,000, then you only have to pay back 90,000, right? So you make 10,000 for borrowing, which is crazy. Yeah, so this is another thing where again, the polls were wrong again, and surprisingly the person that was predicted to win by a long shot didn't win, and the other person won. And basically a bunch of investors in Argentina pulled out their money. The currency inflated by I think like 10% overnight, which is kind of insane compared to the US dollar. It looks like investors are still hesitant to put money into Argentina following the country's primary elections, where current president Macri lost in a surprise result. Macri made strides during his presidency to gain the confidence of foreign investors. Investors are worried that Fernandez and his running mate will undo that progress. So yeah, basically looks like just all foreign investors are pulling out of Argentina. Argentina is like, a highly centralized, kind of authoritative country. The currency's not doing that well, kind of similar to Iran, although I think Iran's in a much worse position. If Argentina does fail to repay its debt, the result would be severe. Sally said. The market would close everything imaginable to Argentina. So far, there's no indication that Fernandez sees default as a viable option. I think the market is generally holding off until there's more clarity on what may happen. Yeah, pretty fascinating. Like Iran, if you look at like the Iran ruble, it's like totally got decimated. It's like it cut in half in 2016, and then like just a couple months ago it like got cut in half again. So I even heard a story that like apparently the Iranian government is like they're setting up Bitcoin mining rigs, so like they're trying to mine Bitcoin. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like if a recession does happen, you know, anything anti the market like gold, silver, or even crypto, you know, it's gonna go up, right? So that's kind of where I'm looking for like investments right now.